Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board, and we have Helen Broughton, Deputy Chairperson. Oh, and Mike Mora, Chair. Sorry, I've got two different lists in front of me, and one of you was on one and one of you was on the other, so I'm going to read both now. Thank you.
The absence of our submissions, Chair, Madam Mayor, Helen is joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Oh, the clock started already. Okay. Thanks very much for the opportunity to present our long-term plan report to the council, and the opportunity to speak to this submission. And we are the largest community board in New Zealand and one of the fastest growing in the city, I would say. And interesting thing too, 25% of the workforce in Otatahi, Christchurch actually work in our ward. So that's quite an influx in and out every day of our area as well. So our board priority plan priorities are the local network improvements in Halswell, which is just, there's a lot of lanes and streets in Halswell that don't go anywhere. The footpath goes along and stops. So what we want is some better pedestrian linkages through the suburb than we've got now. So there's not a lot of money involved in it. It's just planning more than anything. When there's new developments take place, it's just a matter of making sure that those links are connected up to other areas. And this is the big one, the Hornby Centre project. We want that delivered and increased budget. Hornby has been waiting for this for a long time, and we want to really make sure that we can get it delivered, everything we want within the budget. So that's quite critical. So if the budget does blow out, we do really want to make sure that this project goes ahead. And it was touched on before about community funding. There are a group of associations in the Hornby area and wider that are looking at funding the hydrotherapy pool. The hydrotherapy pool was part of the design, but there's not enough money in the budget to actually do that. So it's really good if people around the table here are aware that that if we can get enough money from the community, we would like that built as the building gets built. So even if we know that the funding's coming in, if you can just go ahead and incorporate that in the building, and then the funding will be returned back to the council. So just keep that in mind. And the local roading network in Hornby is got insufficiencies in it, and we just want to make sure that those flooding in the intersection of Chalmers, Amy's and Shands Road gets fixed. It's been an issue for as long as I've lived in Hornby. It's an old Paparoa County Council issue that we've inherited, but now with the traffic volumes used in that area, it's very embarrassing when it rains that you've got to put out traffic cones and stuff, and you get the wash through there as vehicles are moving past. Helen, you want to talk about the
2.1.4. We'd like to get a connection between the Eleanor Mosque and Hagley Park. So that's just a small traffic treatment there. This is my area. I'm always nagging about this, and I'm sorry, but it doesn't get on the order paper. Bradshaw Terrace. Basically, to try and summarise, it went out for consultation in 2009. There was a mistake by the board. We hadn't included it in a local network. Went out for consultation. People replied. Then the earthquake came. So it got shelved. It came back onto the order paper for 2018 to 21, I think. And Vicky Buck was the councillor then who put it back on. And it suddenly got dropped off. There was no coming to us and saying it's dropped off. It just dropped off.
Yep.
And we're struggling to get it back on. Now, I know it's going to be a challenge, but it's the only street in that whole area that hasn't been done. So we would just ask you, if you can, It's about 500,000 to in fact do it. I won't labour that. Thanks.
Helen, do you want to go on about the general comments and rates?
Yeah,
3.1.2.
Just comment on rates. Obviously, we're probably comfortable with where you are in rates at this point because there's a lot of challenges, but we do ask that you try and hold rates in these coming years. So it's the going forward that we are concerned about, and we wonder if you can use the construction price index as a sort of level of rates at the start of doing your next annual plan, because it does seem it's cumulative effect that we've heard concerns about. Mike.
Thank you. Going back to what previous submitters have mentioned about the 5% reduction in community grants funding programs. You've heard from other community boards, and you will hear from others as well as we go through this. We really would like to have that seriously looked at. 5% cut in that very crucial funding for our communities to make them feel like communities and allow them to grow and continue. Because if you think about if you took all the community groups and organisations and volunteers out of our community, you wouldn't have a community. So that's a very important part, I think, of the social interaction that we have in our city and in our wards that's delivered through our community boards.
Mike, I think we should go on to that one.
Yep, okay, Helen.
Yeah, I'm just watching the time.
You jump for it.
Okay, now I'm talking about the Ricketton Bus Lounge. We found it extraordinary that it was suddenly taken out of your budget. We actually weren't told, we just found it. So the background is, and I think it's appropriate I speak about this because it came in 2014-15 and there was a lot of opposition to it from business people and residents, and to some extent the board itself. We preferred a different location, but council was adamant it was going to go on the southern side where it currently is and on the northern side. So there's two bus exchanges almost opposite each other. You've got expiry lease dates of 2005 and 2026. There's no guarantee that if you break the lease that you will be able to find someone else to contract the lease to, particularly on the southern side, because a lot of businesses are closing up there. I don't actually understand why it's been done. So having been concerned at the start, we're fully supportive of it staying. They're clean, they're attractive, and you've got Westfield behind one bus exchange. You've got young workers there, finishing sometimes at 7 o'clock at night and going on a bus either into the town or in fact to in fact Hornby. And I did have something in writing. I don't know if people have got that. I gave it to a person at the front. It hasn't come through.
Okay.
Am I able to ask if it's come through? You just
Okay.
I can read it out if you like.
I can read it out if you like,
Okay,
Helen.
and it comes from.
Ricketton.
Can I say where it comes from? It comes from the winding up of the roadworks on Ricketton Road, and this came about August of last year.
Ricketton Road is a key public transport corridor with over 800 bus movements a day. As well as linking people to Ricketton as a destination, the bus lounges on Ricketton Road are very key connecting hub on ECAN's network, linking passengers to other services, enable them to get to work and home from other areas of the city. So we just question why there is a wish to do that. I want to move on now to 3.2.2, the land drainage targeted rate. The board shares the concerns of the Halswell residents regarding the proposed council land drainage charge changes, noting that the residents of the Halswell River Rating District currently pay an environmental Canterbury charge for land drainage. The proposed land drainage targeted rate would have the unintended consequence for those residents and possibly others in the city having to pay twice.
Right, this one. I've only got in a few minutes.
Wharenui. Okay, we'll jump.
3.8.3.
We'll jump to Wharenui, and then we'll jump back if we got time. Oh, okay, Wharenui pool closure. That's something that we're really, really passionate about trying to keep open. We know there was a bundle in the figures, but we've just, and I know the publicity around it has been brought up to everybody's attention, but that's a 111-year-old facility that was put, it was called the Coronation Pool. It was put in at the coronation of King George, actually. So it's been a facility in the area for many, many years, with the school pools closing around the area as well. It's just an ideal situation, so please, 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 don't knock it down. Don't close it down. Come to an arrangement with community groups and organisations to keep that running. Okay.
Thank you. Well, that's a very sound note to finish on. The offer for the community to take it over. That's a very something that we certainly will be considering.
Thank you very much for your time and your consideration that you are going to give to our board submission. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, and thank you for all of the effort you put into the detail of it. Thank you. The next one we have is the Waimaro, Fendleton Waimaro